Think you know all the hidden gems of the 70s rock scene? Think again. Let's dive deep into the bands that rocked hard, had incredible musicianship, but somehow faded into obscurity. Yet they deserve way more love than they ever got. If there was ever a band that should have been huge but never quite made it, it's Starz. Hailing from the US, this hard rock outfit had all the elements for success: catchy hooks, driving riffs, and anthems that rivaled the biggest bands of their era. Their 1976 self-titled debut introduced them with a bang, featuring tracks like Detroit Girls and Pull the Plug, showcasing a mix of gritty hard rock and melodic songwriting. Their follow-up albums, Violation, 1977, and Attention Shoppers, 1978, refined their sound, blending glam, power pop, and straight-up rock and roll. Songs like Cherry Baby had the potential to be massive radio hits, but Starz never got the same promotional push as their contemporaries like Aerosmith or Cheap Trick. Despite their lack of commercial breakthrough, Starz had a cult following, and their influence can be heard in bands like Mötley Crüe and Poison. They were pioneers of what would later become the hair metal movement, but the timing just wasn't in their favor. If you love hook-heavy, energetic 70s rock, Starz is a band you need to revisit. Detective had all the right connections. Signed to Led Zeppelin's Swan Song label and featuring the charismatic Michael Des Barres on vocals, they had a bluesy, heavy sound that fit perfectly in the 70s rock landscape. Their self-titled debut album, 1977, delivered tracks like Recognize Me and Grim Reaper, songs dripping with swagger and soulful intensity. Their sound was a mix of Zeppelin-style power, Bad Company grooves, and a touch of Deep Purple's bluesy grit. Despite their immense talent and industry backing, Detective never broke through. Maybe it was because they arrived at a time when arena rock was already packed with legendary names, or maybe they lacked that one signature hit to push them over the edge. Detective had everything a rock band needed: an electrifying stage presence, a tight, hard-hitting sound, and that gritty, soulful voice from Des Barres that could command any audience. Des Barres later became more famous as an actor, but Detective's music remains a hidden treasure. They deserved better back in the day, and they still deserve more love today. Straight out of Atlanta, Hydra was the definition of Southern rock with a hard-edged, bluesy bite. While bands like Lynyrd Skynyrd and the Allman Brothers dominated the Southern rock scene, Hydra leaned more towards the heavy, riff-driven side of things, making them stand out. Their self-titled debut album in 1974 delivered tracks like Glitter Queen and Going Down, both of which showcased their powerful mix of blues, boogie, and no-nonsense rock and roll. Led by Wayne Bruce's gritty vocals and Spencer Kirkpatrick's searing guitar work, Hydra had all the makings of a band that could have been massive. They followed up with Land of Money in 1975 and Rock the World in 1977, albums packed with heavy-hitting anthems that deserved way more attention than they got. Unlike their Southern rock peers, Hydra didn't chase radio-friendly ballads or commercial hits. They stayed raw, loud, and uncompromising. That made them a cult favorite but kept them from mainstream success, a Southern rock powerhouse that deserved more recognition. Before they became Y&T, they were known as Yesterday and Today, a Bay Area band that straddled the line between hard rock and the emerging heavy metal scene. Formed in the early 70s, they had a melodic yet powerful sound, driven by Dave Menichetti's soaring vocals and blistering guitar work. Their self-titled debut album in 1976 and follow-up Struck Down in 1978 were packed with high-energy, hook-filled tracks like 25 Hours a Day and Earthshaker. which showcased their ability to mix melody with pure rock intensity. So why didn't they explode in the 70s? Timing. By the late 70s, disco was dominating the charts, and the rise of punk made it tough for straight-up rock bands to gain traction. It wasn't until the 80s, when they rebranded as Y&T, that they finally got more recognition, but their 70s material remains some of the most underrated hard rock of the era, raw, anthemic, and filled with undeniable talent. Few bands embodied theatrical rock quite like the sensational Alex Harvey Band. Fronted by the eccentric and charismatic Alex Harvey, they were a mix of hard rock, glam, blues, and cabaret-style theatrics, making them one of the most unique acts of the 1970s. With albums like Next in 1973 and The Impossible Dream in 1974, they delivered unforgettable tracks such as Faith Healer, the Hot City Symphony, and their iconic cover of Delilah. They had all the talent and originality to be huge, but their quirky theatrical approach was a bit too left field for mainstream rock audiences. In an era dominated by straightforward hard rock and stadium anthems, their offbeat style made them cult heroes rather than chart toppers. Still, their influence on future artists, from punk rockers to alternative acts, proves they were far ahead of their time. Wild, unpredictable, and utterly brilliant, the sensational Alex Harvey Band remains one of rock's great hidden gems. Blending progressive rock, glam, and futuristic themes, Bop Deluxe was one of the most innovative yet overlooked bands of the 1970s. Led by the brilliant Bill Nelson, they combined intricate guitar work with sophisticated songwriting, crafting albums that felt both ahead of their time and rooted in classic rock energy. Their 1976 album Sunburst Finish remains a masterpiece, featuring tracks like Ships in the Night and Fair Exchange, a mix of rock, jazz, and futuristic soundscapes. So why didn't they break bigger? Part of the problem was their refusal to fit neatly into a single genre. They were too melodic for punk, too experimental for mainstream rock, and not quite full-fledged prog. As a result, they remained a cult favorite rather than a commercial powerhouse. But their impact is undeniable. Bill Nelson's guitar work was nothing short of spectacular, and Bop Deluxe created some of the most forward-thinking rock of the decade, a true unsung hero of 70s rock. Angel was a band that looked like they came straight out of a rock and roll fantasy, dressed in all white with a stage presence as theatrical as their sound. Discovered by Gene Simmons of Kiss, they were signed to Casablanca Records and positioned as the anti-Kiss, flashy, melodic, and mysterious. Their self-titled debut in 1975 introduced their signature blend of progressive pop rock and hard-hitting riffs, with songs like Tower, showcasing their larger-than-life sound. Despite their immense talent and showmanship, Angel never reached the superstardom that seemed destined for them. Some blame poor marketing, while others point to the fact that they were simply ahead of their time. Their fusion of progressive rock, glam, and heavy metal didn't fit neatly into one box, and radio stations struggled to place them. Still, Angel's influence can be seen in later glam and power metal bands. They were a band of pure spectacle and ambition, and their music remains a hidden treasure of the 70s. Texas-based Bloodrock took hard rock into darker, heavier territory, blending eerie storytelling with pounding riffs. Emerging in 1969 under producer Terry Knight of Grand Funk Railroad fame, they had a raw, sinister edge that set them apart. Their biggest moment came with DOA from Bloodrock 2 in 1971. a chilling song told from the perspective of a plane crash victim. Its eerie organ melodies, haunting vocals, and morbid lyrics made it one of the most unsettling songs ever to hit the Billboard Hot 100. But despite this success, Bloodrock's shift toward a more commercial sound in later albums alienated fans. Lineup changes and shifting rock trends also played a role in their decline. By the late 70s, they had faded from the spotlight. Still, Bloodrock deserves recognition for their fearless approach. They were one of the first American bands to bring a doom-laden heavy rock intensity that would later influence metal and hard rock acts alike. Most people know Ram Jam for their 1977 hit Black Betty, a thunderous riff-driven reworking of an old folk tune. But they were far more than a one-hit wonder. Formed by guitarist Bill Bartlett, their debut album was packed with high-energy rockers like Keep Your Hands on the Wheel and Too Bad on Your Birthday, blending bluesy hard rock with raw intensity. Their follow-up, Portrait of the Artist as a Young Ram in 1978, featured even tighter songwriting and heavier riffs, proving they had staying power. So why didn't they break bigger? Bad timing and industry setbacks. With punk and disco dominating, blues-based hard rock was struggling for airplay. Add to that poor management and label issues, and Ram Jam never got the momentum they deserved. Despite their short-lived career, Ram Jam's raucous, high-energy sound left a mark. They weren't just about Black Betty, they were a full-throttle rock band that should be remembered. Germany's Triumvirat was often called the German Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and for good reason. This progressive rock powerhouse blended virtuosic keyboard work, intricate compositions, and classical influences, creating some of the most ambitious music of the 70s. Led by Jürgen Fritz, their album showcased dazzling musicianship, particularly on Illusions on a Double Dimple in 1974. And Spartacus in 1975, the latter being a concept album about the legendary gladiator. Despite their technical brilliance, Triumvirat never gained widespread recognition outside Europe. Progressive rock was already a niche genre, and with bands like ELP, Genesis, and Yes dominating the scene, they were often overshadowed. In addition, lineup changes and a decline in prog's popularity by the late 70s hindered their momentum. Yet Triumvirat remains one of prog rock's finest hidden gems. Their blend of orchestral grandeur and rock energy deserves to be rediscovered by any fan of the genre. They were proof that prog rock wasn't just a British movement, it was global, and it was spectacular. That's it for these underrated 70s rock bands. If you loved rediscovering these forgotten gems, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss out on more rock nostalgia. And if you're hungry for more, check out our other videos on 70s bands that deserved more recognition.